Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
Absolutely. Always ready to dig into some fascinating urban trends.
Well, today we're heading straight to the concrete jungle, New York City. But we're not talking about the hustle and bustle. We're looking at something called regenerative urbanism.
Sounds intriguing.
Right. And it's a big deal. I was reading one of the articles you sent, and it mentioned that by 2050, almost 70% of the world's population is going to be living in cities. So how we design and manage those urban spaces is, well, kind of critical.
Absolutely. And regenerative urbanism really pushes the boundaries of what we consider sustainable urban development. We're not just trying to minimize harm.
We're talking about actually making a positive impact.
Exactly. Think about a city that doesn't just consume resources, but actively restores and replenishes them.
Okay, now that's a city I want to live in, but how do we get there? What are the core principles of this regenerative urbanism thing?
Well, it's really about viewing a city as a complex, interconnected system. We're talking about environmental restoration, community engagement, and guess what?
Don't tell me. Economic growth.
You got it. But it's not economic growth at any cost. It's about creating a system where environmental, social, and economic benefits are all intertwined.
Okay, I'm starting to get the picture, but I need some concrete examples. Give me something tangible. What's happening in New York City that embodies these principles?
Well, one project that really stood out to me was Via Verde in the Bronx. Now, imagine this.
Yeah.
Instead of your typical high-rise, they've created a building that incorporates rooftop agriculture.
Like a farm on the roof.
Pretty much. They also have solar panels, a rainwater harvesting system, the works.
Well, rainwater harvesting. See, this is why I love these deep dives. Always learning something new. But how does a project like that also contribute to, economic growth?
That's the really cool part. Via Verde wasn't just about fancy eco-features. They designed it to create jobs for local residents during the construction phase. And then, get this,
What?
those same residents have access to affordable housing within the building. Plus, they use the food grown on the roof to supply a community kitchen.
Smart. So it's reducing cost and improving food security at the same time. That's incredible.
Right. It's a win-win-win situation.
Okay, I'm sold on Via Verde. Now, you mentioned community engagement as a key part of this whole regenerative urbanism thing. One of the articles you sent talked about the Lowline Lab. What's that all about?
The Lowline is super ambitious. It's this project aiming to create an underground park. A park underground.
No.
Using some really innovative solar technology. But what makes it even cooler is how they've involved the community right from the start. They set up this experimental space called the Lowline Lab.
A lab for a park.
Well, it's more like a community hub. People can learn about the technology, give feedback on the park design, and even participate in workshops, stuff like urban farming and sustainability.
I love that. It's not just experts dictating how things should be. It's about empowering residents to become, stewards of their own urban environment.
Exactly. And they're even using this concept called biomimicry in the design.
Okay, you've got to explain that one.
Biomimicry. It's basically taking inspiration from nature and then applying those principles to design and engineering. So with the Lowline, they're looking at how plants thrive in low light conditions and trying to, mimic those strategies to create a diverse ecosystem underground.
That's mind-blowing. But let's be real for a second. When I first heard about this underground park idea, my immediate reaction was, is this actually feasible? I mean, it sounds amazing, but what about the challenges?
You're right to question it. It's a pioneering project, and there are bound to be hurdles. One of the sources I read highlighted the cost of the technology and the ongoing maintenance. That's going to be a factor.
Right, but if they can pull it off.
It could be a game changer. Other cities could follow suit and reclaim all sorts of unused urban spaces.
Okay, so maybe it's a calculated risk worth taking. Now, you mentioned another project, the Brooklyn Navy Yard redevelopment. Tell me more about that one.
Oh, that's a fantastic example of urban transformation. They've taken this former industrial site and turned it into a hub for innovation and sustainability. They've got tech startups, green manufacturing companies, and they've managed to preserve the area's history at the same time.
I read somewhere that they're also big on workforce development, like training local residents for these new green-collar jobs.
Yep. And that ties back to what we were talking about earlier, that connection between environmental sustainability and economic opportunity.
It's all coming together now. Regenerative urbanism, it's not just about trendy eco-gadgets. It's about creating a system where everybody benefits.
Exactly. It's about looking at the bigger picture.
So what does all this mean for our listeners? What's the takeaway message here?
Regenerative urbanism is a vision for a future where cities are more than just concrete jungles. They're thriving ecosystems that benefit both people and the planet.
Love it. So to our listeners out there, next time you're walking around your city or town, take a closer look. What could be reimagined? What challenges could regenerative urbanism address in your community? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Share them on social media using the hashtag regenerative urbanism.
Let's get that conversation going.
And on that note, it's time to wrap up another deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
Until next time.